In his sorrow, the biblical Job cried out, Adonai natan v'Adonai lakach, yehi shem Adonai mevorach. God gives and God takes away. Blessed be the name of God. We prepare to begin the memorial service for Marion Sherwin. We will lower the casket into the ground. Mizmor LeDavid. Adonai ro'i lo echsar, binot deshe yarbitzeni al mei menuchot yinahaleni. Nafshi yeshovei v'yancheni b'ma'aglei tzedek l'ma'an shemo. Gam ki elech b'geit tzal mavet lo ira ra ki ata imadi. Shivtecha o mi she'antecha hamei yanachamuni. Ta'aroch lefanai shulchan neged tzorarai. Tishantav Hashem en roshi kosi ravayet. Ach tov v'chesed yirdefuni kol yemei chayai. V'shavti b'veit Adonai le'orech yamin. The Lord is my shepherd, I shall not want. He leadeth me beside still waters. He maketh me to lie down in green pastures. He restoreth my soul. He guideth me in straight paths for his name's sake. Yea, though I walk through the valley of the shadow of death, I will fear no evil, for thou art with me. Thy rod and thy staff, they comfort me. Thou preparest a table before me in the presence of mine enemies. Thou hast anointed my head with oil, my cup runneth over. Surely goodness and mercy shall follow me all the days of my life, and I shall dwell in the house of the Lord forever. Thank you. Today we remember Marion Sherwin with gratitude for the almost 101 years of her life, years that were marked by strength and extraordinary acuity. And yet today we grieve that her days were numbered by a brief and tragic illness that has so dramatically changed the world that she leaves behind. Marion's family gathers here in person and virtually from around the globe to honor her and lovingly to lay her to eternal rest beside her beloved husband. This we do in the spirit of Jewish tradition as a final act of tribute to a matriarch whose impact will endure.
I can't hear.
There's no sound.
Yeah.
They know, Joel.
Les, why are you on the video here, Les?
I don't know, Joel. You should have a speaker. When the speaker is speaking, he should come up.
Yeah, but you're on.
You don't see the rabbi?
No, I just see you.
Uh-oh, then go back to the grid and just put on the speaker's name.
It's Leslie Greenberg.
If you go to the grid and click the three little dots on the corner, you can click pin video and then go back to the speaker view. But I think he's muted right now.
Gallery.
Gallery view?
Yeah.
Can somebody ask David or Berkowitz to unmute their line because we can't hear the sound?
Right. I think they know that. Can I put speaker view back on?
I don't know if they do. I sent them a private message in the chat, but I don't know how to reach them.
Doing the chat's the best way to do it. There you go.
Can you hear us now?
We can hear you.
Yes.
Can't see you.
Can't see you.
Okay. Please mute your devices.
And
Please mute your devices.
We remember Marion and join our hearts together to give comfort and strength to her family. Mourning is a time filled with many emotions and memories, both bitter and sweet. God, who heals the brokenhearted and binds up their wounds, we ask for comfort and consolation to these mourners as they face their grief. Fill their lives with the acts of loving kindness and truth, which serve as the genuine memorial to Marion. The deep bond of love will remain unbroken. More than 75 years ago, Chana Senesh, the famous parachutist and poet, who has become a symbol of resistance to tyranny and of the triumph of the human spirit over adversity. She penned words appropriate for our remembrance of a woman who is no longer physically present in our lives, but who is always on our minds. Chana Senesh lived briefly, only to the age of 23. And to give some perspective on the length of Marion Sherwin's experiences in life, let us remember that Marion Sherwin was born a year and a half before Chana Senesh. And these are Senesh's words to guide us today. Yesh kochavim she'oram magia arza rak ka'asher hem atzmam avdu ve'enam. Yesh anashim sheziv zichram me'ir ka'asher hem atzmam einam od betochenu. Orot ele hamavhikim becheshkat halayl. Hem shemar'im la'adam et haderech. There are stars up above, so far away that we only see their light long, long after the star itself is gone. But their memories shine ever brightly, even after their time with us on earth is done. These are the stars that light up the darkest night and that guide us. When Marion Sherwin was born in November of 1919, American soldiers from World War I were still returning home. She witnessed and helped to shape a world that changed in innumerable ways from the time when she was young. And she was aware of everything that happened. Even though she would have preferred to keep a rotary phone, Marion or Grandma Mimi or Aunt Mimi, whichever name by which you knew her, she was a person whose origins were early in the last century, but who very much kept up with the times into this one. Just a few months ago, she was watching her great-granddaughter's bat mitzvah in Amsterdam via Zoom, something she never could have imagined in 1919. Born Marion Hirsch, she was a lifelong Clevelander, raised in a large and blended family of people she loved and with whom she shared lifetimes of memories, some of whom are buried in this cemetery. In 1940, Marion Hirsch married another Clevelander from a large family, thus ensuring that the house would be filled with joy and love and food, and that there would be more than enough people to fit around any standard-sized dining room table. And for the next 80 years after marrying Ben, she was proud to be Mrs. Ben Sherwin from Cleveland. Marion Hirsch may have disappeared in name, but the spirit was there eternally. And through 40 years of marriage, until his young death in 1981, Marion and Ben raised 4 children to adulthood. They led an active social life, entertained family and friends, and created beautiful occasions for others through the Sherwin family catering and bakery business. She enjoyed so many things, especially lamb chops and steak, coconut cake, chocolate marshmallows, food from China Gate and the pewter mug, and Jason's. And maybe it was that odd collection and eclectic collection of food that allowed her to live to be 100. She loved to travel when she could, often to New York to see Broadway shows and to take advantage of hotel turn-down service. She traveled around the world, but Marion Sherwin loved to be at home. 2 components of her identity defined who she was and formed the axis on which everything in her world rotated. And those 2 things were her home and her family. She lived in the same house on Delwood Road in Cleveland Heights for almost 80 years. And there she raised her kids for 35 consecutive years. There she mourned the death of her beloved husband. There she tended to her roses and her lilac bushes, her flower pots. There she read the paper every day, watched her favorite television programs, many late at night. There she lived with her youngest son until last week. On Delwood, she was surrounded by the figurines and art that she had collected on her travels. She was surrounded by an endless supply of chocolate marshmallows from Mitchell's and candies, and by the countless photographs of her family. To sit at her feet and to hear her stories was a treat. She loved babies, holding in her arms the generations of her family, amidst whose portraits and albums were chronicled those babies' parents, grandparents, and great-grandparents' stories, stories of which those children were not yet aware, but through her tender memory, they will become aware. To be in her presence was to hear history firsthand. Marion Sherwin was the oldest person living on Delwood. She lived on Delwood longer than anyone else, and she was recognized by Cleveland Heights for her extraordinary longevity in that city. We will bury Marion today with earth from some of her favorite places, from the land around Jason's, from Mitchell's, both of Mitchell's Chocolates locations, and from her beloved house. It was the people with whom she filled that house that transformed this real estate on Delwood from a house into a home. The family gatherings, the desserts and card games that brought the house to life, these are memories to cherish. Over the century plus of her long life, she shared individual and unique relationships with all of the people in her orbit. She was the last of her siblings, and she enjoyed daily phone calls with all of them when they were alive. We remember Harry and Danny, Rose, Helen, Alice, Mindel, Doris, and Myrtle, as well as the families that they raised. She knew everyone and everything about everything on her street. Everyone has unique memories of her. So many cousins and nieces and nephews, especially those who would not be here but for Marion and Ben Sherwin. All have their own private recollection, pieces of the complex story that together form a still incomplete picture of a life that was well lived. We especially note all those for whom Marion and Ben brought life. Marion's children, Alan, Carolyn and Ed, Eddie and Debbie and Sanford, and Marion's daughter-in-law, Nora. Her 10 grandchildren, Ari and Tracy, Rafi, Ronit, Yolana and Scott, Kelly, Heather, Joel and Ashley, Michael and Diana, Bridget and Ben. And her 19 great-grandchildren, Jackson, Benji, Yoni, Akiva, Natan, Batya, Lainey, Gabe, Noah, Jacob, Nate, Asher, Avi, Kayla, Lainey, Josie, Logan, Mason, and Bennett, and one on the way. The list of Marion Sherwin's progeny is impressive, and I wrote it all down because I can't remember it all, but she could. She remembered not only names and who went with who, but she remembered birthdays. She could recognize voices on the phone before caller ID. She was sharp and astute, sharing advice and wisdom on so many topics. And she remembered phone numbers until the end, calling loved ones from the hospital in her final days. Marion's reciprocal care and love for so many does not end with her funeral. She was blessed with health and strength for so long, inspiring her family and friends, and now she is gone. The world will keep turning, the sun will continue to shine, but today our lives are dimmer because Marion Sherwin's light is extinguished. Tomorrow begins our Jewish New Year, and in that liturgy we will read of how our lives are a record of our deeds known only to ourselves and to God. Marion's earthly book has closed, but the eternal record of your mother, of Aunt Mimi, of Grandma Mimi, of all of our loved ones, that eternal record of shared collections and memories will last with us forever. We continue with the El Maleh Rachamim Memorial Prayer. El Maleh Rachamim Shochein Bamiromihim Hamsei Menucha Nechona Tachat Kanfei HaShechinah Im Kedoshim Utihorim Kazohar Harakia Mazhirim Et Nishmat Marion Shalcha Le'olamaha Ba'al Harachamim Yastireha Beseter Kenafav Le'olamim Ve'yitzro
She's married to Ed, right?
Nishmatam Adonai Hunachalata V'tanuach B'shalom Al Mishkava V'nomar Amen. God of abundant mercy, God most high, may the soul of Marion Sherwin, who has gone to eternity, find the gift of
I
perfect
think
peace
they
in your
can
grace,
hear me speak.
together with the holy and pure, whose light shines like the radiance of heaven. Compassionate God, hold her close to you forever, so that her soul may be bound up in the bind of life eternal. May she find a home with you, and may she rest in peace. Together we say, Amen. We remember that we are but strangers upon the earth. Like a shadow, our life flees away. Help us, O God, so to walk in your sight, that when the few years of our earthly pilgrimage are ended, we may be ready to meet our ends with a tranquil mind. To you we look for comfort and strength when one of our beloved is taken from us, and a link is broken in the chain of love which binds us together in family union. Though we walk in the valley of the shadow of death, we fear no evil, for you are with us. Be praised, O eternal our God, in all your dispensations, and sanctified be your name forever and ever. Amen. May the love and eternal connection of our souls give us strength as we turn now to recite the words hallowed by time. We honor her memory now with the words of Kaddish Yatom, the mourner's Kaddish. Yitgadal v'yitkadash Shemei Rabbah.
Amen.
V'alma divrach yirutei v'yamlich malchutei. V'chayechon v'yomechon v'chayei b'chol Beit Yisrael. V'agalav izman kariv v'yimru Amen.
Amen.
Yehei Shemei Rabbah mevarach le'alam le'almei almaya. Yitbarach v'yishtabach v'yitpa'ar v'yitromam v'yitnaseh. V'yithadar v'yitaleh v'yitalal Shmei dekudesha b'richu. La'ela min kol birchata v'shirata. Tushbechata v'nechemata. Da'amiran v'alma v'yimru Amen.
Amen.
Yehei Shlama Rabba min Shemaya, V'chayim Aleinu v'al Kol Yisrael v'yimru Amen.
Amen.
Oseh Shalom b'mramav, Hu Ya'aseh Shalom, Aleinu v'al Kol Yisrael v'yimru Amen.
Amen.
In Jewish tradition, to place earth into a grave is a mitzvah, a commandment and a righteous act that we do without any hope of reward. With this act, we take on the responsibility of caring for our loved ones until the very end. Our loved ones deserve to be buried by kind hands, knowing hands, sorrowful hands. I invite those who are here to participate in this mitzvah, a painful act. However, it is one born of love and compassion for those who mean so much to us. And as I noted, We will bury her not just with earth from the ground here at Mount Olive Cemetery, but symbolically with earth from the places that meant so much to her over the last almost 101 years. I'll ask if you would like to please come, and because of health concerns, we will not be using a shovel, but I invite you to take a fistful of dirt and place it into the grave.
I ask people to please make sure your devices are muted.
It's mute.
Al Mikoma Tavo B'Shalom. May Marion Sherwin come to her eternal home in peace. Lech ki shilach Adonai. Go your way, for God has called you. Lech v'Adonai yiyeh imach. Go your way, and may God be with you. V'halach lifanecha tzidkecha kvod Adonai yasvecha. May your righteousness go before you, and the glory of God receive you. Now I say to the mourners, Hamakom yinachem etchem betoch shar avalei Tzion v'Yerushalayim. May God console you with all who mourn in Zion and Jerusalem, and now go forth in peace to life. This concludes the memorial service.
This concludes our Zoom conferencing. Thank you.